going on, everybody? Darby here with Gen AI University, joined today by my friend Marcus Anderson, who has developed an AI sales Android bot that helps uncover hidden revenue opportunities in businesses without spending more money on marketing or ads. Wanted to bring on Marcus for just a quick interview and a demonstration about his tool because a lot of you out there that have your own business right now could probably be making a lot more money from the leads that you've got and you've already paid for if they're just sitting there and you're not doing anything to engage with them and segment those lists. And Marcus is a master at this process. He's even built a tool around it that he'll be sharing with us today. Marcus, thanks so much for joining us here.
Dude, thanks for having me, Darby. It's good to see you again, my friend.
Absolutely. And I know like when we started learning several years ago, initially to the idea of found money, you've taken it and applied that concept into an AI and automation process that is able to really tap into, I think, what you're talking like through the empathy and the connection and understanding of the people who you're working with. But before we get into any sort of like technical details, I'd love if you could give us the high level of who you are and your background. What do you do at We Market for Humans? And like, how did you even come across like AI and applying it in ways that you're seeing success with yourself and your clients?
Yeah, dude. So it's interesting. I've always I started out in a local advertising agency, like running ads for car dealerships and casinos and whatever. And then we moved into video production and then social media and then moved into like the typical like online biz ops stuff. Like, oh, maybe I'll try drop shipping or I'll try blah, 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 and all this stuff. And inevitably, I found my way around to a guy you and I both know, Travis Sago and Ron Lynch and Jordan Hall, and learned about this concept, like you said, of found money. And that's where you and I actually met years ago now.
Hmm.
What's interesting about that is a lot of the concepts that I learned there are very much applied to what we're doing here now with the AI, right? With these conversational sales androids. And honestly, like I disregarded AI, a lot of people did early on, even though you were very much at the forefront of AI and using it with Jasper and Jarvis and all those things at the time. And I had no concept of what you were doing. I was like, oh, Darby's off in the weeds doing some crazy stuff. I'm going to focus on this found money
Yeah.
stuff. No idea that a couple years down the line, I'd be like, whoa, we should marry these two ideas together. And so basically, what I've always like ever since getting into this found money world, my whole philosophy has been because I've been exposed to it so much and I've seen it in real time and seen the data and made so much money with it for businesses and myself is that every single business that does lead gen spends money on front end customer acquisition. They all have these sales processes. A lot of them is, hey, how do I make money off this in the back end? Like, I'm going to acquire them. It's probably going to cost me money to acquire them, maybe spend even more money than I'm going to make when they initially purchase from me. But how do I like take that customer and move them to a back end or like a profitable place inside the business? And what ends up happening is like some businesses, say in the online world, maybe they're putting 5, 10, 15% of those front end people into their back end programs and the high ticket things or whatever. But they're still leaving 80, 85, 90, 95% of the people they're paying for on the table. They're not converting them. And we've found that, hey, maybe if you had an extra sales process, you had something beyond what you're already doing that didn't require a lot of plate spinning or complicated things, maybe you offhand it to somebody like us, you could eke out extra sales without spending more money and without having to build more funnels and do all these kinds of things, manage more staff, all of that. Then like the headaches that come with running a business, like it's necessary to have those things. Like I'm not anti-sales call, I'm not anti-webinar, I'm not anti-anything. They all work really well, but what else can you do to make the most out of the money that you're spending on the front so that you can have more bottom line revenue to actually take home, invest in your business, try other things. So that's like where I come from with all of this. Does that sound about helpful or clear?
Yeah, I think it's good to look at it from that perspective of getting more out of what you've already got, which
Yeah.
everyone's like more leads, but all of these leads that are not converting right now doesn't mean they won't at some point down the line. And what you're saying is that the process that you've really mastered this over the past few years and what you've put into practice and identifying these opportunities within a business that's already has all these plates that they're already spinning. You're not coming and adding more to their workload. You're finding opportunities where you can just plug the system in very seamlessly. And so I'm curious if you can talk a little bit more about what are you looking for to help identifying these opportunities to make it even make sense to add AI into the mix here, because I'm sure that you've seen situations, maybe you haven't, where AI gets thrown into the mix, but it's maybe not directed in the at the right process or the right workflow or the right follow-up system, and it's maybe is delivering lackluster results versus a cash windfall that you might see from one of the campaigns that you run.
Yeah, I think everybody's getting, not everybody, but a lot of people get caught up in the idea of like, oh man, check out my new AI tool, my new AI this, my new AI that. And it's more about a shiny tool versus what does it actually do? Like, what's
Mhm.
the outcome from it? Like, how do I use it? How do I apply it without it being this huge headache? Because there's a tech side to all of this, right? And I'm not a techie dude. That's why I do what I've done on the found money side, because it's been very, I call it digitally primitive, right? We've been working with like email and Google Docs for high ticket sales for years. So like, how can I use the AI thing in a way that somebody like me can like apply without having to get deep into the weeds with the tech? Basically, what I've found is that any business that is doing lead gen and spending money on the front end to bring in customers, anybody who's got that and they're not closing 100% of those people into their offer, their product, their service, whatever, this can work really well for them if they've got phone numbers. Because for us, what we do, just a very top level explanation of this, and I'm going to demo this for you guys in a little bit, is we like to take people's phone numbers and we do all of this through a marriage of texting and chat GPT, right? OpenAI. And we're having conversations with people that are super empathetic and they're really human feeling. Obviously, it's AI, but they feel really human. They're super empathetic. And we are moving people to whatever it is that business needs to close more sales. So it could be sales calls, it could be in-home appointments, it could be in-office appointments, whatever it is. So what we're doing though is we've realized that people don't necessarily answer their phone anymore, right? Everybody's very much into texting, like even with friends and family, right? Somebody will call you and like you'll send them to voicemail and text them, be like, "What's up?" And you literally could have talked to them right there on the phone, right? But it's, oh no, dude, we don't do that anymore. We text. Like your mom could call you, maybe not Darby's mom, but you know what I'm saying? Like people like are used to that form of communication. They prefer that now. So why not do that? Because we'll see, we've got experience with businesses that will get a lead and they'll dial them 12, 15 times and not get in touch with them. Then we'll put out this text and 20 to 40% of those people will re-engage with them immediately. They couldn't get a hold of them with 14 calls, but all of a sudden one text, yeah, what's up? It's Darby. Yeah, I was looking for that service. It's crazy. So why not have your phone team? Sure, that's great. Although the way AI is going now, I don't know how much longer like even sales, like phone sales teams are going to be around. But beyond that, what happens when they don't pick up the phone? Right? If we know that people are texting, why not go to them via text? If you're just scheduling an appointment, why can't you schedule an appointment via text? We're still qualifying people. We're still finding out what they're interested in, why they're all those things. And then we're booking them. We're connecting them with phone calls, sales reps, the whole deal. So that's what we're up to right now.
Even just thinking about my own behavior with using the phone, I would prefer not to be on calls with people during the day throughout the day, but it's much easier and less of an attention break to just maybe not in every case, but yeah, I'll respond to a few texts at one time versus picking up a call and doing that and just engaging. And so you guys have dialed in having that kind of that interaction between the AI and the human being empathetic, having a conversation that feels like they're having it with just like a person, I imagine. What are some scenarios where a business has these phone numbers and like they're following up with them? There may be some roadblocks that you've ran into that you just find that maybe is there a point where AI puts up a flag and says, I actually need a human in the loop here? Or like how like these conversations go? There's so many variations of like how people can respond. I'm just curious if you can walk through maybe what were some of the initial stumbling blocks that you've gotten over in these conversations that help with keeping those conversations going and ultimately towards booking an appointment or making a sale.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like I said, 20 to 40% of these people, they could be dead, like dialed to death, will respond and start having conversations. Some of those people will just respond enough to be like, hey, I'm not interested. But what's really interesting that one of the responses we've gotten a few times now with one particular client is, yeah, I would never ever work with so-and-so, the owner of the company, but you seem really nice, Sarah. I really appreciate you and how well you've taken. And they're talking to the AI about how great and kind they've been, right? That was one thing I didn't foresee. Like how people would look, and it makes sense, but talk to the AI like a person and also compliment them on like how good they are at their job. So that was one thing. Now, we've trained the AI to where like when we get into those scenarios where it's like, all right, this is getting weird. Like sometimes like people can be super inappropriate with AI.
Hmm.
Like with not even dial that back. Not with AI, but with customer service people texting in general. Like they can get really weird, especially dudes, right? Like weird, like X-rated stuff that they shouldn't be saying to people. And we've got our AI trained. We're like, we're gonna kill that conversation. We're gonna D&D them, do not disturb them, so we don't have to like that's over. So that's been really weird. When it comes to that, hey, I want to like talk to somebody about this or whatever. We've got it all trained and built out to where that happens. Like we can send a notification to the company, hey, this person's requested a call, or we can even do a transfer in real time. If they're like, hey, I want to talk to somebody right now, regardless of what the situation is, we can transfer them over with all of the notes from that conversation. So everything that's transpired to the person who gets on the phone from the company has it all right there in front of them. Right. So I can see you're talking to Sarah, looks like the square footage in your blah, blah, or whatever it is, or you seem concerned about blah, blah, blah. Let's talk about it. It's really powerful. Anything you can think of, and this with like your experience with it, you can train it to just respond and react. Like we've trained it to know its place to where you're
Hmm.
not a closer. You're not a closer. You're not an in-home inspection expert or anything, whatever it is. Like your job is to help qualify people and schedule them. And anytime somebody's pushing for a deeper conversation or has questions you can't answer, don't make it up. Just say, hey, this is what I do. It'd probably be best if you spoke with an expert, if you spoke with one of our advisors. Yeah, it's very good at like handling objections, being empathetic and keeping its eye on the ball. Like, all right, my goal is to get appointments scheduled and keeping that focus. So the other thing I really like about it is that it's it doesn't have a bad day. It doesn't get moody. It didn't like just get a like crappy text from their husband about something terrible that happened. They're not dealing with something over the weekend. It doesn't feel sick. It doesn't like need to go on a vacation. Like it's always like rock solid. And it can go 24/7 too if we need it. We're not missing calls. We're not missing leads. Speed to lead is dialed in. We're not waiting 24, 36. Some of these people before we came in were waiting like 60 hours before they would talk to their leads. And by then they're just dead. It's really anything you can imagine, you can handle and program into the AI. That's the way we've built it anyway.
Yeah, and that's why one of the things I love about AI and how you can like just apply it to so many different scenarios, and this being one application of so many. I think this would be a great segue to see like how does this work in action. I know you had a demo put together, but I'd love to see what does this process look like? How would one go about setting up a campaign like this, like with your tool? And we have some folks here live that happy to answer some questions, guys, if you have them throughout here or in the comments on this replay wherever you're watching it at. Um,
Yeah. So let's see here. At its core, it's a marriage of, like I said, OpenAI, texting, and a lot of workflows and automations in the background, some automation sort of things from like a Zapier, anything like that, Zapier, N8N, Make, all of that stuff married together. Because as simple as it sounds like, oh, we'll use OpenAI and texting to have conversations, there are so, like you alluded to, there's so many potential scenarios that will pop up that you have to count for all of them. So it's like a really deep built out, we call it an Android, but it's really like the back end of it's pretty complex, but the user experience is very seamless and just like a normal texting conversation.
mhm.
So what I'm going to show you guys is so I have a couple clients in this space, the walk-in tub space. I don't know if you guys are familiar with walk-in tubs, but they're basically for folks who, for one reason or another, can't get into a regular shower or a regular tub, whether it's they're elderly or physically unable, or they're like a danger when they're in the shower, that kind of thing, slippage, they've hurt themselves, whatever. So I'm going to run you through a demo of that. And this whole thing starts just the found money stuff from years ago that we were working on, Darby, starts with a hand raiser. Just we like to start, there's several places you can install this in your business, as you can imagine, right? Every business has a database of old leads that their sales team couldn't get on a call or an appointment or whatever. So they've got this old database. We call that like database reactivation. And then there's businesses that have their sales teams, they get a lead and they hammer them with calls for 48, 72 hours or whatever. And then their sales team puts their eyes back on the front end again and ignores those people. So we'll call that a 48-hour sort of Android or something like that. And then there's the people that want to have it installed in that moment. Like they submit and immediately they're getting a text and we're going back and forth and having the conversation, getting them set right then and there for an appointment. Like that's a killer way to do it because it's just so fast. A lot of these guys, like once they put in, for example, a walk-in tub inquiry, they might go to 3 or 4 other companies in the same like 10-minute span, right? So if you can hit them quick, knowing that most of these guys aren't getting to them for at least a few hours or sometimes a few days, like your chances of like actually closing that deal are way higher, right? So what I'm going to show you is a walk-in tub demo. We're going to walk you through the whole thing. Is screen sharing on, Darby?
Yes.
Okay, 1 second here. Boom. You see that all right?
Yep.
Okay. So a couple things I want to tell you is I'm just showing you a demo version of this, not a fully built out with all the automations and pauses and everything. And I tell you that because what's going to happen is you're going to notice that the conversation is really human. It's really empathetic. It's really good at handling objections. All of that, it keeps its eye on the prize. Like I said, of like if it's in this case, it's like, hey, I want to get this person to schedule an in-home appointment and get them on our calendar. It's really good at all that, but you're going to notice the responses from the AI come in crazy fast, like inhumanly fast, right? In the real, actually built out sales androids, we've got pauses and things to make that feel human, right? So that it's not just coming in super fast. You're not getting a paragraph of text in a split second. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So this is the first message that we will send folks, right? And it's truly like crazy how like effective this thing is. Like I said, if they're old, dialed to death, 20 to 40% of people respond to this. The warmer they are, the more those numbers go up. So think about that. If this is a database of leads that they've already paid for, but they've already given up on, they can get 20 to 40% of those people to respond, and even 10% of those people to turn into customers. Like that is truly found money for them. Like they have given up on that 100%. So usually the message looks like something like this. Hey, it's Sarah from Walk-In Warehouse here. Is this the same Casey that got a walk-in tub quote from us recently? So we're just starting the conversation. Now I'm going to take this over here to the open AI and run you through the demo and everything. Obviously, we're not going to worry about the 60 to 80% of people who might not respond to this. And I'm going to take you through what it is when somebody's like in the affirmative and actually like responding with this. I'm not going to softball it with like just easy things. So I want to show you how it can adapt to like being thrown off or like having objections thrown at it, that kind of thing. But you know what? Let's just talk about it a little less. Here we go. So can you guys see all that all right?
Yep.
Cool. All right. Let's get rid of this thing here. All right. So you guys saw the text. I'm going to be Casey, right? Sarah from Walk-In Tub Warehouse, wherever that company is that we made up, just reached out to me. Is this the Casey who just got a quote from us recently? Yes, it is. What's up? Awesome. My calendar just pinged me to call, but I didn't want to disturb you. Are you still looking for help? What's really cool about this is it's doing a couple different things here. First of all, is it's pre-framing for a call, right? Like I was just about to call you, but then I realized I didn't want to bother you. Are you still looking for help? And it's also flying under the radar with the texting thing, like we talked about earlier, right? Like I know some people don't want to be texted, blah, 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 or excuse me, some people don't want to be called. So I just thought I would text you. Are you still looking for help? Let's see. Possibly. What's up? So we're not just going to give it super home run sort of things. What are we doing here? Oh, you know what, guys? 1 second. I had a solar thing up for somebody else a minute ago. Is my screen sharing still or no?
No, yeah, but I did see the solar demo there.
Yeah, we could have ran with that, but since we've been talking about this for so long, the walk-in tub thing. Da, 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 da. There we go. All right. Let me bring it back. We're doing this live, guys. Anything could happen. It's wild.
Anything will happen, knowing.
Yeah.
Throw
Between AI
AI into the
and
mix.
my tech skills and Kawaii internet, who knows? All right. Yes, it is. What's up? Thank goodness. We just talked about this. My calendar just pinged me to call. Maybe. How can I help? Just trying to find out if it's walk-in tub is for you or a family member. Can you share that with me? So we found out that like when people buy walk-in tubs, a lot of times it's like if it's like for an elderly parent, it's their kid, 40, 50, 60-year-olds who are shopping for it. So like qualifying there is like a good place to start. But the big important thing is that it is trying to qualify, right? It's not just like, here's the calendar right away. Oh, you are? Cool. Here's our calendar. It wants to like engage in a conversation. Let's see here. It's actually, I don't know, mom. She took a pretty bad fall, broke her hip. We're all pretty worried about her. All right, here, guys. Sorry for the scroll here. Really sorry to hear about your mom. A walk-in tub can be a great solution for safety and ease of use. We can definitely help you find the right model for her needs, and we offer professional installation too. Would you like to schedule an appointment to speak with one of our remodeling specialists? So it's acknowledging mom in an empathetic way, right? Sorry to hear about her. It's a great solution for safety, ease of use, things that, a child who's taking care of their older parent would care about, right? Would you like to schedule an appointment? So here's where I want to throw out some objections. Let's see. Maybe. I don't want to deal with a high pressure salesman though. Mission breath makes me puke. I don't know. Totally understand that concern. Our specialists are here to provide information, help you find the best option without any pressure. When you're ready, you can just chat about what your mom needs and they can guide you through the options. You want to book a time to discuss? See how it's keeping it on their concern, right? It's not about the tub, it's about mom. Like people, it's never about the product we're selling. It's always about the reason why somebody wants to buy the product, right? The outcome, the pain they're in, the outcome they're hoping to achieve. So we've trained the AI to keep its focus there, to be empathetic at the same time, though. Honestly, I'm not even sure she can have a walk-in tub. She lives in a mobile home. Got it. That's something we can look at together. Mobile homes can have unique requirements, but we have options that might work for her. You schedule a visit with one of our specialists, they can look at her specific situation, provide tailored recommendations. See, it's always really good about handling the objection and pushing to the call. It's always my eyes on the prize, trying to go for the call here. What's another objection we get a lot in just anything? Money, right? Not sure we can afford it. Times are tight. Completely get that. We offer a variety of models, financing options. So there's a good chance we can find something that fits your budget. A conversation with one of our specialists can help clarify what's available. Would you be interested in scheduling? You can see it's really good at handling the objections, right? So inevitably, if we're like, yeah, okay, fine. Okay, so what would happen? What does that look like? Schedule a visit. We'll discuss your mom's needs, the type of walk-in tub you're looking for, options, financing, special considerations. You ready to pick a time? And this is where we can do a couple different things. Like this one's programmed to schedule a time, get it on a calendar. We could also say, hey, would you like to talk to somebody now? And transfer the phone call, like I said, straight to the company. If they're like during open business hours, with all of the notes, give them a heads up. Hey, this person's going to be coming through. It's called a whisper transfer. Here's all the data from the convo. They're worried about their mom. They're worried about the finances. She lives in a mobile home. So that person gets on the phone and it's like a seamless sort of conversation. That's the worst one. Like you get transferred to somebody from a business and you have to retell your whole story again. None of that. Okay. It keeps the user experience really quality. But for this one, yeah, sure. Send it over. Sure. Actually, because they didn't actually say anything like that. Great. Here's my calendar for you to book in a time. Looking forward to help you out. It can also just say, cool, when would be good for you? We're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. And then they could say Wednesday at 3. And it'll go back, search the calendar, and come back and say, hey, actually, we've got Wednesday at 2 o'clock or Wednesday at 5 p.m. Would that work for you? Yeah, no problem. Like it'll go back and forth and set the time as well, however we train it to respond. That's the gist of how it works, right? So if you think about it, like that's for database reactivation, right? But very similar to if somebody were to fill out a lead form 48 hours ago, 72 hours ago, 24, whatever the timing is, right? Or somebody who just submits a lead form in real time, being able to have a very similar conversation. You might tweak it a little bit depending on the situation, but that's how it all works.
Yeah, I love how simple it is when, in terms of just the user interface. Obviously, the back end can get like you have to have the proper instruction and training so that it's answering questions accordingly. But to the end user, this should feel like a seamless experience and elevate the experience that a business might already be providing, but they don't maybe have this level of follow-up or automation already set up. So this was a walk-in tub example. Can you talk through maybe, and I don't know if you want to come off share screen or if you have more to demo here. I'm curious, like what other like industries this could apply for. Is it, do you typically work with more service-based companies, or do you see some industries that, like just off the top of the head, would be really good candidates for running these types of campaigns?
Dude, it will work for, like I said, if you have a list of leads that, and you've got their phone numbers and they've opted in like compliantly, right? Not like you went and bought a list or you pirated and
Hmm.
blah, 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 but like legitimately opted in leads that want to hear from you. Like, so it could be, home services are great, debt relief, mortgages, people who are doing like wholesale, like real estate investing, right? And they get these huge lists of people opting in because they want to potentially sell their home or whatever. Tort cases, like class action lawsuits and stuff, where attorneys are trying to, run people down to become part of like class action suits and things like that. Like they're eligible, they've opted in, but maybe they haven't answered the phone when they
Hmm.
actually try to call them. Anything you could think of, plastic surgeons. Like, obviously, you want to do it. I do. I want to do it for businesses that have like big lists of people, lots of flow, right? Because if I'm going to do it for them and partner with them, right, like I want to make it worth my while. But if you're your own business and you want to do something like this and like you hire us to build this for you or whatever, if you've got those lists of people, why wouldn't you have another way to go? Because there's no shortage of texting bots and things like that, right? People send you text messages all the time, like for their businesses, but they can't have conversations like this, right? It's
Hmm.
just, and even the ones who are trying to do it, like they end up breaking because they haven't built out all of the contingencies, like all the things that could happen and go wrong in a conversation, like we were talking about earlier. So it works really well, like brick and mortar sort of things. And also, too, again, anybody like pool builders, like solar, all that stuff, but also, too, in the online world as well, right? There's a lot of people that have front end products and opt ins and things, and they've got something on the back and they're getting phone numbers and they're able to have conversations. Like they have phone teams that are calling them, whatever, same scenario, but they can't get through or they can't get them set, they can't get them booked, whatever. They can do this too. And what's really cool about this, by the way, am I still sharing my screen?
No, you're gonna have to reshare.
Let's just show you something really quickly, which I think is really cool. So imagine like it's the same, this is the same Android, right? The bathroom remodeling one. And this, hey, is this Casey from blah, blah, blah. If I put this in, no habla inglés, just confirm, are you interested in a walk-in tab? Oh, you know what? We don't have a program on this one. So
Hmm.
let's see if it works. Come. Okay, didn't work this time. That was anticlimactic. We've got it built to where
Hmm.
we can have it adapt to like up to 50 languages, right? So we'll seamlessly just go straight to start speaking Spanish. Oh, lo siento, interesante, blah, blah, blah. It's crazy. So that nobody on a phone is going to be able to do that for more than a couple of languages, maybe. But if it's like going to like Mandarin, Spanish, Hindi, all these different potential languages that are like built, like if Chat GPT, if OpenAI has that language like programmed into it, we can use it here. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it's a like a good highlight for all the different contingencies that you want to plan for when using these tools, because you
Exactly.
could very easily be doing a lot of what you've just shared here, but maybe you didn't add that component into it because you didn't think about that. Like if this is your first time, especially setting up one of these bots, right? That's why like people do this as services and you do this for partners, and it takes time to learn how to program your own agents, because just because AI can do something, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to do that if it's not programmed to go a certain way. And I love that example of just responding in just Spanish, but how many other languages could people hitting your website right now open up a conversation like that? And is there an opportunity to capture a conversation? Yeah, I think there is, but be thinking about this type of stuff and pushing the limits of how can we adapt these bots to ultimately, I think, deliver a better brand experience, customer experience that's engaging with your products or services.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like it's really about more sales, right? Obviously, you want to keep your brand reputation intact, but you're doing all of this because you want more sales. And if somebody who speaks a different language than you doesn't speak English, but you're coming to them with their native tongue or can immediately adapt to that, like that's going to make them feel so much more comfortable and want to like, because that's not something people are particularly used to here, right?
Mhm.
Spanish, maybe, right? That's like a pretty common second language here. But outside of that, like to be able to adapt to another language that's not one of those two, like that's immediately going to help. Like they're going to see your company in a completely different way. Like, whoa, these dudes are on it, right? So I think anything you do, we can talk about that, Chris. Anything you can do to enhance, like you said, the brand experience, but at the end of the day, get more people comfortable to buy from you because that walk-in tub company, there's 3 or 4 other walk-in tub companies that they're competing with. But if they're the one who can speak their language, dude, who's going to get the deal? It's a no-brainer,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, that's cool. And do have some questions coming through here. I think we can like riff with some of that if you guys have any questions for Marcus or how this process works or how it might work for a given situation. Question from Chris was, does it work with any CRM?
So we are able to via API when we build this out. So the way we typically like we do this for people is a couple different things, right? One is we'll build it for them. They'll pay us X amount of dollars for it, and we'll figure out some recurring, like monthly sort of thing, whether it's like a per appointment set or per sale or per combo hat, whatever. We work that out. Every business is a little different. And we can tap into their CRM via their API, like just have an API connection. And as things come in, we build all of this stuff inside of high level, right? It's just get really robust and it has all of the features that we need as far as CRM management and automations and workflows and tags and all of that. And it plays really nicely with N8N and Zapier and obviously OpenAI. But yeah, like one of the walk-in tub companies we work with, they've got like a very specialized CRM that's for those kinds of home services businesses. And we're tapped right in with them.
Great. I know a lot of folks in our community use Go High Level as well and are building tools within it. It's cool that you're building in there too. Other questions from those here with us live, please drop those in the chat. Or if you want to come off mute, just raise your hand, let me know. Tyrese, I see you.
I think
I
you're on
can't,
mute.
we can't hear you, Tyrese. I think you might be having some issues on the audio side.
Might need to select your mic from the,
How about now?
there we
Yep,
are.
there we go.
Okay. I had sound issues earlier. I apologize. I was just going to say thank you so much for the presentation, Marcus. That was very interesting. I'm really fascinated by the fact that different languages can be used because I think that's what's lacking in a lot of places is that you have to know English in order to do any kind of business with AI right now. And so I like that you have that built in that you can choose any language that you want. Now, having said that, if you are in the flow of conversation at the very beginning, is there a way to ask if the person is struggling to write in English? Is there a way to ask the person, is there another language you would like to converse in to make this process easier?
That's an interesting question. I've never thought of that. But because there's a sensitivity to that. That could be something like I love that in theory. I could also potentially see that offending somebody who wouldn't need it, right? If I was
Mm,
like, hey, dude, do we need to talk in a different language? And they're like, hey, man, like, I'm just slow at texting, or like, my kids are going crazy, or like, I'm not like,
mm,
you would try to insult. So, all of these things, there's ways to consider all of that.
At the beginning, if we ask, is there a preferred language you'd like to speak in or
We can
converse
definitely do
in?
that for sure. Yeah.
And that
That part,
might, especially considering that most people don't understand that there is, in your case, so many different languages that it can actually converse in. So if you made that clear at the very beginning, I think that would be a nice way to just break the ice as well.
yeah, no, it's a really cool idea, especially obviously non-English speakers aren't just like in metropolitan areas, but areas where you know for your business that like, oh, there's a really big Hmong community here, or there's a somebody we're working with in Chicago, and there's a lot of Polish people that live there, right? So like they want to be able to do that. So I think that's a really cool consideration, and I think it would be like a case by case basis. But the cool thing about it is you can do anything. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Do anything. And if it like blows up in your face, because we test everything, like everything is, hey, let's test it very carefully and monitor it. And then, oh, that did great. Or that totally pooped the bed. Let's not do that. That would be something I think could be really cool for testing for sure.
Yeah, like certainly testing it, but yeah, just even on the opener, that follow-up initially, it'd be interesting to see how that just another gateway to opening up the conversation.
You should see when conversations like that no habla inglés thing, because that's happened multiple times, like the way that conversation turns, because usually like when that's put into a text like that, it's like, all right, that's an end of a conversation. That's how it's like, hey, I don't speak English, sorry, versus I don't speak English, and hey, and you start speaking to them, no worries, in their language, are you still looking for the tub? But saying it in Spanish, all of a sudden the whole dynamic is shifted. So it's really cool.
Yeah, very cool. Thanks, Tyrese. Any other questions, guys, drop them in the chat. And yeah, thank you again, Marcus, for coming and sharing us that demo. I think it's a just such a solid example of where most any business that's doing any sort of marketing and has any sort of customers most likely has leads that they could reactivate or follow up with, reach at a different medium with texting like you're doing, and just bolt this on to something that you're already doing. And Chris just commented saying, I really like how simple it is. And you did say on the back end, it can get a lot more complex in terms of all the instruction that you're providing, but it's that user experience that ultimately, like you said, is leading to more sales.
Yeah, and you don't have to be some AI tech nerdy sort of genius person who's just all day in the AI lab doing this stuff. Like I know some of you guys are really into that, but some of you guys are just business owners who recognize, dude, AI's here. It's going to come for all of our business in some sort of fashion. So how can I just look at that as a tool or an employee or whatever and leverage it to my advantage rather than worrying about how my business is going to survive? No, I'm going to figure out how to bring it in and utilize it so that I'm using it and it's not taking advantage of me. So I say that because, and this isn't like a pitch or anything, but like when we do this for people, like we do it most of the time. Like I said, we'll build it for some people who want to have it self-contained and like they're willing to pay for that. But we do it like on a partnership basis. Like my whole thing has always been like, let me show you how this works and don't pay me unless we make you sales. It's been the whole found money concept from the beginning. It's like without spending extra money. So you can find people, like I'm one of them. There's other people that will do stuff like this to where if you're willing to like look at your database of people like, dude, these people are lost. Like I spent the money on them. I couldn't convert them, but somebody else can come in and convert them for me. And they just want a piece after if they do it. So I'm not even doing anything up front. Like, why wouldn't I take that step and see if it's doable? And then once I realized, oh shit, like I could also do this for my 48-hour leads or my immediate opted in sort of thing. Like you start to recognize how many things are possible. Dude, you can do Google, like it gets Google reviews. Like it'll go back after people are like doing services, after a service is completed and getting them to go leave Google reviews and having a conversation about their experience and encouraging them to go do that. Like it's getting better reviews than like the people who are doing it and making phone calls and trying to get people to go over. It's a really interesting time. I don't think it's the best time in the world to be a setter and or like that kind of thing. Like I don't, and obviously I think inevitably it's just we're seeing like a redistribution of tasks and whatnot, but it's a really cool time and I love this stuff. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a super techie dude, but I like the simplicity of it, like Chris said. With all the stuff going in the background, at the end of the day, it boils down to having a conversation with leads who you couldn't talk to before. Why wouldn't you do that?
Mm-hmm. And so for the setters of the world that, may be in a position where this is a tool that is going to automate a lot of those conversations that they might have been having, in some cases, and maybe more cases than not, is maybe even having better, more engaged conversations longer term. It's obviously doing it without on 24/7 without like needing a paycheck to run other than what it costs to run the credits and like the automations and the service. But also another time for those people that see this happening right now to maybe reposition themselves. How do you now take what you've already learned in your existing field and then applying these tools? Any thoughts on what maybe a setter or someone that works in this space, like how To me, this seems like a great tool to have in your tool belt. And then now it's time to evolve with this technology. Any thoughts there on your end, Marcus?
Man, I really don't know. To be honest with you, how long are these sales androids going to be like something that works like this, where it's not going to be just replaced with a single chat GPT sort of operation, or yeah, GHL just does the whole thing for you or whatever. Everything has an expiration date, but I think it's a good time to look. Like, this is ground floor stuff. Even though we've been talking about AI for a few years, like seriously now, it's still pretty early, like pioneer days, as far as like how many businesses are not using any level of AI in their business right now. So learning how to figure out, like, leveraging, this is what I'm good at. How can I take AI and leverage that skill set and go apply it to something new? That's what I'm doing. Like, I was using a very similar model to sell high ticket stuff for people. 3, 5, 10, 30K, $30,000 things through email and a Google Doc. The economy got really difficult, right, over the last couple of years. So fewer people were buying that stuff. That squeezed me out a little bit. So I'm like, what can I do? There's this AI thing, and there's these chat sales Android things. How can I figure that out so that I can take this found money skill set over here, marry it with this over here, and then now I've got this brand new offer that's like piping hot, that like I've yet to have a demo of this, like the demo you guys have seen. I'm yet to do a demo of this for a business and not have them want to do it. Batting 1,000 every single time, because it's like that powerful and every business needs it. So like finding out, like, dude, where's the need? What problem can I solve with the skill set I've got, and putting that into AI and putting it to work. I'm sure you could even ask ChatGPT, hey, here's my situation. Tell me what to do. And give you some great life advice.
Yeah, we were just talking on the call before this about ChatGPT and its impact on therapy and using it in that sort of realm. But yeah, great example as well with what are you going to do to pivot and, apply what you're doing now to something else that's coming up. And for those that do want to reach out to you to connect and talk more about this, and maybe look at ways to partner with you or run some of these campaigns or see if it's going to be a fit for their business, how can people reach out to you, Marcus?
I've got my email right here, Marcus@wemarketforhumans.com. That just goes straight to me. Feel free to reach out if you want to tell me a little bit about your business, like what industry you're in, where you could possibly see this being applied, or what you're interested in. I'm very much not of a high pressure sales sort of person. You might have gathered that. Like, I live here on Kauai, where high pressure is not in the vocabulary. But what I would do for you is I can put a demo together for this for your business too. And you can see it in real time. Like, how would this actually look? Solar company, for my mortgage or my debt relief company, whatever you got. And I can show you what that would look like, right? I'm pretty good at building these demos pretty quickly. Obviously, when we get into business together, those are a little more robust and built out. Those take a little bit more time, but happy to chat with you. Feel free to reach out.
Sounds good, Marcus. Thank you once again for coming on, giving us a demo, sharing a bit about your process. Again, over the past few years, it's been really cool to see how you've leaned into the found money, and you've gotten some incredible results in sales for the clients that you run these campaigns with. So I'd encourage anyone that does have a business that they think might be able to plug into Marcus in his system here, reach out, connect. You saw his contact information there. And other than that, Marcus, appreciate you and your time, everyone here with us live and catching the replay. And until the next session, keep calm an eye on everybody. Cheers, y'all.
Thanks, Harvey.